Hello, everybody. I'm going to be adding on my coach, Brenda Rigby from the Aligned AF community, and to fill you guys in about the Aligned AF Summer Camp Summit that's coming up on the 23rd, and hoping that some of you here might consider joining us here. I'm so excited about the topic that I'm going to be discussing this year about deinstitutionalizing your daily life and practice. There are going to be about 30 plus other speakers. We're really targeting women who are starting really vibrant businesses to really detach from typical corporate life. And that's where really the theme of my topic is exploring how do we liberate and deinstitutionalize ourselves and find that fortitude to be creative, to be creatively liberated throughout our daily lives. And oh, yay, awesome. I got Brenda on here. Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining. Let me see how I can do this. Oh, we got accepting. Wonderful. This is my first Facebook Live. Okay, fantastic. All right, let me see here. Accept again. Let's try. Oh, running into some technical difficulties. Oh, okay. Fantastic. Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Definitely. I am so excited about this topic that's coming up about, I think it's so on topic for summer. Like, I think all of us in summer try to do things a little bit differently and make space for more fun. And you're joining with to also extend that that invitation all year long, especially if you're building a business, which I think I have some of my Instagram audience that have, I think, already artistic businesses. We're specifically targeting midlife women, but I really think that there's something for everyone. So jump in. I'm a little bit on the cusp. I'm like 35, so on that cusp of midlife. But there are.
I say midlife is definitely like when I first started talking about midlife women or attracting midlife women into my orbit, I'm one of them, is I started thinking of my own generation, like Generation X.
Oh, good. Did it still cut out on your end too? Yeah, definitely. Let me see here. Okay, I think we're back. I think
Yeah.
we're back.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying how when I first started working with midlife women, I'm one of them, but I started thinking first just even of my own Generation X, but there's millennial women, there's whatever Gen Z. So if we're trying to profile ourselves around age, that's one thing. But I just think it's like this intersection of women that I don't want to say it's not good. Like this summit that we're talking at is not appropriate for 20 something year old, like absolutely 20 something year old. But I think it's more about like you've done some things, you've tried some things in your life, you've had some relationships, you've had some jobs, you've tried building businesses, maybe you've had kids, but it's also just like the family, friendship, community. Like you've built it in different aspects. Maybe you've moved across the country, moved countries, built new communities. But there's this intersection, I think, that happens at midlife where there's a lot of things that are coming at us that are hugely exciting and rewarding and fulfilling. But then there's also this like big decision making time around our health. And maybe we have 800 friends on Facebook and we really just want to spend time with two of our besties. And that's enough for us. It's like that whole, like in our 20s, we wanted everything and we wanted to experience everything. But now I think when we get into sort of our late 30s, 40s, 50s, it's more around that refinement and decision making and getting committed around the things that are important to us. It took me a long time to figure that out. I want to say, yeah, like in our 30s. No, I wasn't doing that in my 30s. I'm in my 50s now. But I just think back to all the women that I get to connect with. I think that's a big thing as far as like making choices that fit ourselves first. So I love your topic, Josephine, because you're talking about deinstitutionalizing. And I think as women, we have so much to like unravel in that space, like what we should be doing, how we should be acting as mothers, or how we should be working as employees, or how we should be as daughters. Like all that stuff needs to get unpacked, unraveled.
Especially with business, part of why I really enjoy being part of the Aligned AF community is there's something about being in a sisterhood around other ambitious women too that helps unravel a lot of that wiring. For me comes from patriarchy, and it's very like tempting to reproduce some of those norms when you're following conventional entrepreneurial advice. And Gen X in particular and my mom's generation, you guys are like the trailblazers. Like it's still so new, these developments that defining a new lane that women can really thrive in. And so I've really taken in just a lot of wisdom, and I really encourage others to have a diverse assortment of multi-generational around. I think it's good for us to break outside our silos and really build community intergenerationally as well is so important. I'm
Yeah.
curious too with that. Yeah.
No, go ahead. What are you going to ask
Oh,
me?
no, I think too, I was thinking on the live too, if you wanted to share about One Girl Can in that same regard, because I think that is something too that you've been working on. You've been an organization that you've been working with for a while now.
Yeah, I want to say the last 5, 6
Yeah.
years. There's been a groups out of Africa. One Girl Can, one Imagine One Day is another group out of Ethiopia. What Josephine's referring to is within the summit. So we've got our summit that's going to be starting on June 23rd to the 26th. And we're just 1 week out building up to this point. Doors open on the 22nd. So people, if you signed up for the summit today, you get to go on the wait list and then get access to everything on June 22nd. But part of it is like when you join, it's free to join the summit. And then if you decide to join inside, there's free things that you get, but then there's also some bonuses to basically upgrade your experience. And when you upgrade your experience to the VIP pack, part of your proceeds to that will go to an organization called One Girl Can. And they're based out of Vancouver, Canada, and Nairobi, Kenya. So the founder of the foundation organization, Lottie Davis, she started AG Hair Company. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's a pretty big global brand now. And they just started off with salons, and then they got into product and manufacturing, and now they're everywhere. But they do a lot of ethical sourcing, like all of their packaging. They switched over just before COVID, I want to say in 2019, to be all like ethically sourced packaging and reusable canisters and bags that come from like tree bark and all these like natural fibers. So they're very conscious about kind of what they're putting out into the world and the products that they're producing. And then Lottie started doing a lot of work with schools in Africa, and they decided to create her own foundation. And so partnered with an organization, like I think a school in Nairobi, that's the history of it, but they formed One Girl Can. And so they've been building a school in Nairobi, which they completed, I want to say a couple of years ago. We did a massive fundraising during COVID when a lot of fundraising events were locked down. We couldn't go to big banquet areas, like no more dinners, things like that. So a lot of it was online virtual fundraising, and got the school built. And then part of the program is to also send girls to the school in Nairobi and then to further on their education by giving them scholarship programs to university. So that's just a long-winded story of what the organization's all about. But I'm a big believer in, like, I love helping women business owners, but I'm also, where's the point of origin? And it's really around education, because no one was talking to me at 15 about going into business for myself. It was go to school, get married, get a job, get the house, have the kids. And then I'm like, okay, check, check, did that. 48 years old. And I'm like, what else is there? And so I think it starts at education. And I think One Girl Can does a really great job. I've mentored girls in the program before too, that are in the university portion. And they have questions about entrepreneurship, about starting and learning more about that at university versus, oh, I need to be an accountant or dental hygienist. And nothing wrong with those professional careers. But I think, women, girls want more, and they want those opportunities available to them. And why should we learn about entrepreneurship at 50? What can't we learn about it at 15?
I love that. That's breaking down the glass ceilings and really in creating that ecosystem of supportive, encouraging community that can around you. We don't have to do it alone. That's the wonderful thing about having programs like Aligned AF on school in finding curating exactly what you need to thrive in all areas of your life. And that's a huge theme of this summit is figuring out how are we not just helping our businesses, but we're also helping our personal health, our relationships. That's very much the spirit. And I think that's one of the ways that you're helping to decolonize, deinstitutionalize women-led businesses is creating them from the start that they have a sense of balance and rejuvenation and supporting not just our own lives, but also the causes that are really important to us lifelong. I have gotten a lot of value out of the Aligned AF community too. So this is a great way to sample some of the wisdom that's been cultivated in this community over the last couple years. But I definitely, any of you that are looking at wanting an accessible entrepreneurial support group and ways to get really to dip your toe in, even just like to do this first Facebook Live. Brenda is so supportive in helping to get to that place of taking action in the context of sisterhood. There's no sense of competition or things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to underline a couple of things that you said there, like taking action in community. We don't have to do these things on our own. It doesn't have to be this like fight. And I think that is also patriarchal in the sense of hunters, gatherers versus nurturers. And not to knock the men out there, but I think it's always been a sink or swim meritocracy type environment in organizations. And I'm about like, yeah, like I want to be successful too, but why can't we do it together? Why can't we do it in community? If I know something that's going to help you out and it's going to get you there 10 steps earlier than it took me, then whatever that objective is that I have, and if we have that commonality of making the world a better place or helping girls get university scholarship programs, whatever those things are, that we can just do it faster. Why would I like not share that? And so I think that's the whole thing is that I think in patriarchy or meritocracy environments, they have their day in the sun and I work for them and I made money in them and all those type of things. But I also think there's another way to make money in our businesses where it's that we can do it in partnership and community and we can get there faster and more collectively. And I just think what's happening globally in the world, like we see it, you live in the States and a lot of the people that are in the community are American. So I live in Canada, I live close to the US border and my kids are part American. So it's part of our sort of fabric, our operations between Canada and the US to work together on things. But I do see some of the things that are happening. This sounds a little political in the States
Yeah.
right now. Tax breaks, they're going to go to the wealthy and the rest of the population, especially women working, women, single moms struggling, medical care, all that sort of stuff is going to vanish. And it's just going to make it harder for people, I think, to establish wealth, to establish like community. So that's just like, I think, a classic example of we're still fighting those institutionalized ways of working where it's like the rich get wealthier, but because of the kickbacks that they get or the people that they know, versus I'm like, we could all get there, whatever that finish line is for us. Someone may have a dream of getting to $5 billion in revenue. I'm just like, how do we just pay off our mortgages, send our kids to camp, we'll take a vacation twice a year, whatever that looks like, have a retirement fund so we don't have to work till we're 80. But it's just, if we can get to our finish line faster because we're working together on it, that's what I'm here for. And
How it's supposed to be. And I think too, even in the United States, I'm from the Bible Belt. I'm from the Midwest, and it's interesting what you learn in those contexts. And there are like in Wyoming, where I was born, that was the first state that women could actually vote in before it was part of the US Constitution. And
wow,
it's just amazing, like those frontier women that we've talked a lot about, kind of decolonizing aspects of settler colonial lineage, but women are always these powerful hubs of our economic productivity. It's just making it visible and finding ways that we can reclaim that power and galvanize and build community. A lot of the forces in the United States are looking at division and looking at so we can take it on ourselves to build community outside that and build these alternative spaces where we're steering the ship in a direction that really aligns with our values. And that's really been a really strong skill set for me, especially in building international community. So if anybody here is listening in the United States and feeling bleak, feeling discouraged, knowing that no matter what walk of life you come from, we have really hearty and earnest ancestors that found ways to make it through tough times. I really do think that tough times build strong people. And if we allow them to, they can make us more compassionate, more expansive, and can guide us towards how we might want to use our resources differently. Sometimes the universe can show us options of, no, that's not actually how I want to define. If you want to cultivate an abundant lifestyle, maybe that's not how you're going to define wealth. And there's opportunities that even that ripple effect, just one person in a family system doing that is rippling out across the community and creating a new definition, new ways to move forward. We continue to be ceiling breakers for the generations that come. And if that's something that you want to be a part of and feel a little bit more uplifted, a little bit more hopeful, I super encourage all of you that are listening to certainly join the summit on June 23rd. And if not too, isn't there like a deal too? Somebody wants to check out the Aligned AF community. There's like a trial or something like that. Or
Yeah, yeah, there's a number of bonuses that are gonna be happening that week. It's basically whatever all the holidays that you celebrate in one week is as far as gift giving. So we've got the summit going on. We've got recorded sessions. So Josephine's an example of one of the speakers that started a recorded session with me, and it's the beautiful session. You need to check it out. And so there's 34 plus speakers that have recorded sessions, but then we also have live panel discussions going on Monday through Thursday. So June 23rd to the 26th. Each day there'll be a live focus discussion. Like on day one, we're talking about sales and marketing. So if you are a business owner, or maybe you're thinking about leaving your corporate career and starting a business, and you're like, how do I get my head around the sales and marketing piece? I've never done sales and marketing. We've got an expert panel of speakers talking about that. We've got one on wealth and impact, which is going to be super cool. So it's not just about making money, but it's like building wealth, generational wealth, community wealth, having an impact bigger than yourself. So we'll talk more about that on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, we're talking about relationships. So relationships with ourselves and setting boundaries, relationships with others, with our kids, having more love, intimacy with our partners, whatever that looks like. Or if you're looking for a partner, a life partner, what does that look like? So we've got lots of great speakers talking about that. And then on the last day, on the Thursday, we're talking about health and vitality. Because I think at this midlife intersection, so again, whether or not you're 35 or 55, somewhere in that spectrum, you are going to be going through as a woman, or people that identify as female will be going through perimenopause, right? And so there's symptoms that we need to be aware of. And how does that play out into our career, into our relationships, into our businesses? And we're just going to talk about it. Here's the thing too that I just want to say is, yeah, on top of that, there's bonuses, there's trials into the Aligned AF community. You can try it out for free. So when you sign up to the wait list, we'll announce all of that when the doors open on June 22nd. But lots of cool things that you can take part in. And we've got co-working advisory sessions throughout the week too. So you can come to a live panel discussion. You can come join us for a co-working advisory session later on that day or earlier in the morning. And we can actually like work with you on how to put some of those plans into place. So it's not just hearing from people talking, but let's get into what you said earlier, action. Like what's one thing that you could do this summer, this week, whatever it looks like today, to move a little bit closer towards that vision that you have for your life and your business. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to hear speakers like yourself and all the other ones that are going to be talking live. It's going to be tons of fun, but I think also very educational. I think for some women that haven't maybe explored these areas yet, there's some really great speakers that can be resources for them after the summit that they can check in with, like yourselves. But it was funny because there's actually been a couple of men that have signed up for the summit. And they're like, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely okay. But just so you know, is it going to be okay that we're going to be talking about perimenopause and hormonal shifts and not having our period anymore? And because like those are going to be topics that we come up with. So if you're going to be there, you're there to help advocate for us, help advocate for women in healthcare. Because right now, doctors only get 2 to 4 hours of training around perimenopause and menopause. So if you want to come to the summit, awesome. But you're leaving advocating for women's businesses, advocating for women's health, advocating for women's voices in political offices. Make it part of this deinstitutionalization, right? Like just don't come there because you're feeling like left out because it's a women's summit, but you're coming there to learn about women to then advocate for us. That's what I would say. That's
and that kind of actually, it's interesting hearing that even like the deinstitutionalizing part, that's just one part. That's just the unraveling of getting clear.
yeah,
This doesn't work for me. And then it's the next part is actively then weaving what does work and trying that out and experimenting
yeah,
with and having that supportive community. And so it's re-enlivening ourselves with that like source energy and building a business from that foundation. I can't recommend this community higher enough, especially the networking components and just really breaking things down on like the granular level. Sometimes we really need that like hand holding of here's how to set up the tech, here's how those things move forward. If you've been part of other communities where everything feels over your head or like everything you like, oh, now no, it's another upsell and now it's another upsell.
right.
Brenda is super generous. The community long term is it's $19 a month. And if you really get a sense of it and feel like, oh, this really aligns with where I'm moving and where through a whole year you can do a summit, you can do a bundle, you can really build a business portfolio that can serve you for decades to come. I went all in on the annual pass. So it's been really a wonderful space to get to build community, to redefine what business can look like in the current age. This is going to be an amazing summit. Hope to see everybody there. Brenda, do you have any like final thoughts that we want to leave communities around? I think yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me this time this morning and for you to share your brilliance with everybody. It's been really great being able to connect with you, doing your recorded session with you, and also just seeing you like up level yourself in the community. Like you mentioned, like you went all in on the annual membership, you signed up for the summit, you've got your freebie organized. I'm so excited to see where things go with you and your business and how you're finding your path forward. So I just want to thank you for doing that because I think that's the most important thing. And like, with the community aspect, there is this sort of like sisterhood or camaraderie of other people going through it. But I think there's also this energy in the community where we are action takers. We want to do things differently in our business and in our lives and our relationships and our health. So it is an active, engaged community that way. Sure, there are people that tend to be more observers, but I love the fact too that when it does come time to take action on something in their business, they actually raise their hand, step forward, volunteer. So it's not just placating to like communication, like chatter and stuff like that, but we're actually taking action. So that was one of the big shifts that I made in the community even last fall was, yeah, it's about training and tools and templates and networking. But if we're talking about building our businesses and nurturing our audiences and generating more sales, I want the community to actually create those opportunities. So that's when we started doing bundles and summits because no more talking on the sidelines, like actually do the work. And that's what I think continually inspires me in the community is then when I see women members like raise their hands, step forward, step up. And I get texts from people going, I've never spoken at a summit before. I've never grown my email list before. I'm like really even nervous to sell my offer. And I'm like, okay, we're doing it. Like it's happening in real time. So that is super exciting. So part of, I think, just any takeaways that you take from our session today is one, it's the summit and it's called the Aligned AF Life and Business Summer Camp. And it's from June 23rd to the 26th. As a summer camper, as I'm calling like all the participants in the wait list right now, you're going to get access to amazing content, free gifts, connections, the co-working, the advisory, like the live sessions. It's going to be really enriching. But I think for all the speakers that have signed up, I'm just like even more excited about all of you that have stepped forward, raised your hand, done the work. You're showing up. You're showing up again, like today, Josephine, like this takes, like you've never done a live before on Instagram, on Meta, on Facebook, and like you're doing it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm like my heart is just like boom, like
Yeah,
it's just
that's where the confidence comes from, especially with sport. In my day job as a therapist, I always tell my clients that like there's a certain level, we need a certain percentage challenge and a certain amount of support. We can do almost anything with that
mhm,
equation is in the right balance. And if we have too few or too much in either regard, and so much of what I think, especially when I imagine for a lot of midlife entrepreneurs and just women in general too, where we're breaking through. We talk a lot about this in our session in the summit about intergenerational imprints that sometimes it's stuff that would have freaked our grandmother out that we're doing for the first time. And it can hold your throat and you can go, where
right.
the block even coming from? We're overcoming, we're doing a lot of things that women haven't been allowed to do, even just 40, 50, 60
That,
years ago are unimaginable. And that can create these blocks. And so having just the opportunity, like, okay, I've gotten my first summit now out of the way. I've gotten my
yeah,
first bundle. I got it. Just knowing that you can do it. And it's like taking off on the training wheels for the first time or just being like, okay, I got this now. A lot of times, like,
yeah,
nothing wrong with us that we need that like little practice nudge. And then there are like hundreds of bundles and so many different summits and just seeing what
that
yourself.
is
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like once you get some of these little nuggets like checked off, you just keep repeating, rinse and repeat. And it tells your brain, like, I am so capable of doing all these things. Because you're right. I think we have legacy of downplaying our strengths, legacy of you talk too much. Like, where are you going with this idea? Like, whatever, any of those things, not taken seriously. not being profiled, the token female, whatever, in a panel, like all those things. And that's where I'm like, yeah, like if men want to come, that's awesome. But we're not sharing stage. We're talking about our stuff and we're fully like opening the kimono. So if you want to be an advocate for anything that you're hearing about, amazing. But like it's a safe space for women, I think, to talk about all the things that are going on in their life. Like people ask me, like, should you maybe narrow the focus to AI and business? And I'm like, yeah, like I can do that. And for sure. But I think my whole concept is I don't want it to just be like one aspect. Like we are multidimensional, I think, as women, and we are asked all the time to take on multidimensional tasks and like care for the kids. And oh, we got to care for our aging family members. Oh, and we got to make sure the house is okay. And we got to grow our businesses. And we got to make sure our careers are great. And we got to look amazing on Instagram. And it's just like we've got all these things that we have to juggle because we've always done that. So like, why not have a summit that talks about all of those things versus just like one little aspect of what we do?
Yeah, no, lift up the current. I that trope of, oh, behind every successful man is like this amazing wife or whatnot or something. We are amazing or whatever. We have to make that visible, the soul, and make it real and make it really honest, because that I think that makes online businesses elusive. There's like behind an Oz's mask that people can't see. Everything is pretty, like you see exactly how to go through the initial spots in this community. There's nothing really hidden, or that's what it's a really authentic community to show up as your full self and to know. And like one of the things that is my favorite that I'm learning so far, especially in creating online content, is how showing up in your authenticity and your fullness is actually what is engaging to people. We don't being polished and perfectionistic is actually, it goes against
That
what really magnetizes people to feel that sense of trust in working with you. And I think anybody that engages in the summit, you're going to walk away with more permission to be your full authentic self and to at least ask that question of what does an aligned business look like for me? Or what if you're seeing others redefining a balance? And I'm in the aligned AF community also working full time in a corporate job. So it can be something that you're not jumping 2 feet into the next thing. You can get your feet wet a little bit and see and get inspired by other women who have already started walking the path.
in that case, yeah, also looking at it as like mentorship, right? Because right now there's a lack of entrepreneurial mentorship for women in corporate jobs. Like I was never told by my presidents or my CEOs of my company, oh, you should go. But then when I left to go start my business, I had a couple CEOs that I used to work for call me up and say, oh yeah, this is totally like the right path for you. I always saw you running your own business. Like, why didn't you tell me that? To lose a, no one loves to lose a good employee, but at the same time, like again, that's that meritocracy, the patriarchy, right? Got to hold on to everything versus me. I'm like, what if we gave it all away and people just got there faster? Why are we just keeping the secret to life or success? And not that I have the secret and I know it all. It's just more if I've already been there and done some of these things and I can mentor a 35-year-old woman today or a 45-year-old woman because I'm just like, just a couple of years ahead and I've seen some of these things, why wouldn't I share it? Why wouldn't I bring in other women to share it with other women? Why can't we just get there a little bit faster versus, oh, I had to cross the gauntlet and struggle. So you have to do the same thing. And it's just, no, like we're already,
Reproduce.
like, yes, like there's pay equity gaps, there's maternity leave gaps, there's like all these things, right? And so it's just, why do we have to cross this gauntlet, make it really difficult, right? If I know, hey, you could get here a little bit faster than I did, and you go tell 10 people and they go tell 10 people, we're just going to amplify it faster. So that's my whole sort of feeling on it versus, yeah. So when they called me and said, congratulations on becoming an entrepreneur, and we always saw you doing that, I'm like, why didn't you tell me that when I worked with you like 10 years ago? Because there may have been like me having that sponsorship or that mentorship, what could have been invaluable.
And then, yeah, you would think in the United States that I still think there are disparities. We don't always get that messaging as it's here and it isn't. I think that connects things like the one girl can, like we're
Mm.
still revitalizing and redefining what's possible for women internationally. It's not one way or the other. We need that messaging in both the West and in the global South of like really encouraging, because I'm sure I don't know exactly like the research to cite, but like, oh, if you invest in women in a community, that's going to circulate and revive the community more than
Oh,
anything.
yeah,
And we
yeah.
need that mindset here in the West as well.
Yeah, Sally Kawchuk, who is the founder and former CEO of Elvest, which started up in the US, and her whole mission was to get women investing more in like the stock market and growing their 401k plans and building up that generational wealth. And she like has stats inside Elvest that says when women get access to wealth, we give back to our communities. Not to say that men don't also sign a check to their communities as well, but hello, we see it that some of the biggest, like they're building like rocket ships so that they can go into space and float around in space. And I'm like, meanwhile, there's children in your own nation that aren't getting access to lunches or getting access to the best education. And the United States has some of the best educational systems, right? And some of the best like institutions for education. Harvard, one of the top universities in the world, is in your country. And so it's more about, okay, yeah, rich guy, you can go into space, or you could also give back to your community. So that's, I think, the thing is if we can get women to the start line and to the finish line faster, then we can be giving more because that's just naturally in our inclination. We are the nurturers. We are going to nurture the planet. We are going to care about the environment, the children, the causes, all those things, because that's just what we do. And so we just need to have access to it faster.
Definitely. I've been, that kind of prompts me. My last job before my current one, which was huge. Like I got this current job. It's so funny. I've been learning everything about entrepreneurial business, but finally, actually, I have a job I love. And it's like, now that's the biggest barrier to an entrepreneurial thing. But I'm still believing that making progress inch by inch and always knowing that you have that option, even if you have a job that really supports you, you might as well build these skill set on like in the months. But the last job I had, I put in for my annual review and it was so torturous. I was waiting, they kept punching it down the can and I gave them kind of a clear line, like after this point, I'm just gonna be PRN. But the next job I got after that was $20 more an hour. And those things that I share that now in my circle and especially with younger therapists that I'm coming about of that's one of my stages of deinstitutionalizing in a way is I couldn't see it while I was in it that if a company has a culture where they only see women rising to a certain level because it would take it so personally that it seemed like they were negotiating with other professions or like maybe with men in a different way and it's oh that's that company's problem. Like that they don't see my value isn't really my issue. It was something that able to calm my energy back, realign it and reposition. It's just amazing how the universe can reward you for seeing your value as well. And to see that ripple effect, that story that I've just shared and telling others, like, here's how I've negotiated my raises, here's how I've seen that happen in lifetime, the ripple effect that can have. And especially in how you're talking about how we're advocating for women, it's so important. The like undervaluing feminine labor in our hospital systems is a huge part of where we want women to feel empowered to speak up in those spaces, especially if we want equitable healthcare. I've seen that actively, the ripple effect from us finding our voices. And that's a big part of even if you're not going to start a business, the wisdom that you're going to get from the summit of other empowered women that are finding their voices and making real what their health needs are. Take that in because that's going to have a ripple effect just in your own community. So many of us don't even know what the effects of perimenopause are. It's so new, just in the last decade and a half that we're making that a topic of discussion.
Yeah, the last decade, for sure the last decade, even really the last like, 2 or 3 years, like it's really ballooned thanks to social media and just being able to, like women just sharing stories and doctors now coming forward and even female doctors not knowing about perimenopause, them going through it and saying, oh my gosh, like I had no idea and no one is talking about this in the medical. And now they're starting to, and there's studies now, and there's advocacy groups that are lobbying for certain things. So it will change for the younger generations, which is amazing. But again, like we can have it go faster, right? In all different areas. I think when we work in community, when we work like together on things, it just, organizationally, this is where it's like, I will take patriarchal frameworks and models where it's, yeah, when we get everyone working in unison and there's like productivity, it's like we will see change faster. So it's the same thing. We need to apply that. And I think, again, women, we're good at doing those things, whether it's organizing church bazaars and who's going to make the quilt and who's going to bake the cakes and plant the orchids and sell them at the church bazaar to raise money for the church. Like, we've always done those things. So we know business and we know how to organize people and rally and fundraise and donate to bigger causes. Now we just need to do that for our own businesses, for our own wealth, corporate paychecks or revenue offers like within our business. We just need to do that for ourselves. So yeah, we're going to learn a lot about these things at the summit. And I can't wait to see what people gravitate towards, because I get to look at all the analytics afterwards and be like, okay, everyone's like downloading about this and looking at this. And then we'll learn from that too and provide more, because like we just know that there's an absence of it and people are craving that and they want that sense of belonging and support. And we'll do that the next time. So I'm excited. I'm so excited that you are one of our speakers. And I'm glad that we got a chance to connect again and talk about.
No, I love this so much. This is so cool. I'm now even leaving more excited, especially the focus on perimenopause and women's health, which kind of overlaps with what I do in my professional life as an occupational therapist. Gotten to partner with Dr. Rebecca Seagraves over the past 2 years of bringing visibility to maternal care disparities in the United States. And in just less than a year, I've seen that go from a really marginal issue to now being like the center point of my national organizations from women on the grassroots. Just like you're saying, there's no limit to the power of this sort of community. So please jump in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining on this Facebook Live. And I know probably later on this year, we'll get to do a podcast interview together at some point. Brenda has an amazing podcast as well. So many different touch points. Thank you, everybody, for joining this morning.
Thanks, Josephine. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Hey.
Bye.